Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you this fan-based, band-endorsed podcast. Check out the website, guys, www.scotthaskin.com. Click on the Uriah Heep Podcast link. Links to every show I've ever done, broken down by album. There's a link to each album, and then within that, a link to each song. And there is a player there. You can stream it right from the website. You can download it. You can listen on your favorite podcast outlet, which might be where you're listening right now. Let's talk about Uriah Heep, man. 53-year career. You got to love it. That's pretty amazing. Still going strong. Already set up to play a bunch of festivals this coming summer all over Europe. Hoping they'll make it back to the U.S. before too much more time goes by. But you know, a lot of European bands are not booking here right now. So I don't know if there are still some COVID issues, some restrictions. Maybe it's too costly. I know a lot of promoters and things went out of business. So, you know, it's a different world. And speaking of a different world, we're talking about the song Between Two Worlds, which I covered in the Sonic Origami season, which was season 20. Hence the band's 20th studio album, which really it's weird because now they're on 25. So this was really only 5 albums ago, but quite a distance in time. And I covered this one on November 30th of 2021. There's a link in the show notes after you guys listen to this episode. If you want to go back and listen to the original review I did of the studio version that went on the album, click that link or just search for it in your podcast player. Either way, let's get into it. Here it is. I love that moody intro. You know, it just sets such an element of intrigue. You don't really know what you're getting into. And then it just kicks in. I mean, there's a nice little count to let you know it's coming, but then it just kicks in full force. It's got a good drive to it already.
You're not the only one amongst the saints and sinners. There are those that we can see, those no longer with us. To take that walk again with someone you were close to, on stage in the other world tonight.
This is pretty straightforward, but it's a really good rock and roller, and I really like the energy that they're putting into it. You know, sometimes when you've played your own songs a few too many times, or, you know, if you're recording it again, it can be really difficult to find that energy, that push, that drive to really make the song something special. And I have to say, for all the songs that we've listened to so far on this album, they have brought it on every single song. You know, it's like, I don't know if they recorded songs that they decided maybe weren't good enough to make the album, and maybe they recorded other ones in their place, or maybe they had more than 27, but every one of them so far has just been absolutely fantastic. And this one's got such a good drive and such a good energy. It really, really justifies the process of going through all of this and the expense of going into a studio and re-recording these songs. You know, just taking a quick look at the rhythm section, there's something that's a little A little more papery, I think, about Lee Kerslake's snare on this one, which is not bad. It's got enough bottom end, but it has a little more raspiness to it than it does, that full body snare sound that we're used to hearing. But that in combination with the bass tones, I really like the way the bass sounds on this one. He's getting a great tone, not too distorted, really just cutting through though, because of the frequencies that he's playing as opposed to the guitar and organ. So the whole thing is just really placed together very, very well. In a way, the rhythm section and vocals are really drowning everything else out now. I'm not really hearing specifically what's being played on keyboard or guitar, but everything else sounds really good. And part of it is that papery snare too, because that takes up a wide scope in the audio spectrum. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's kind of what's dominating the song right now. Now I'm hearing guitar and keyboard. And what I really like is how that one note drags a little bit. It's like, da, da. It's not quite on the beat. It just hangs a little bit. And I really like that because it throws me off, but in a way that really doesn't detract from the song. That was a nice segue back into this part again. I really liked that breakdown. It was really nice. It just gave a different feel to the song. It didn't, it feels calmer, but it doesn't take away from the tempo because the song is moving at the same speed. But it feels like it's taking the song in a different direction, but really tempo-wise, it's not. And I've always liked parts that do that because when the song comes back in, it feels like it's so much more full force than it was, because we had that break in there, but the break didn't take away from it. It's a really weird thing, but I always love it when I hear songs that do that. Now here you're getting that dark layer of keyboard that comes in to really enhance the mood. And it's nice because it's not something that really stands out in the mix. You more feel it than you hear it. But if you're listening for it, it's there. And it's just slightly, ever so slightly above the rest of the keyboards. But it really gives it a pronounced feeling. Very simple trick, but very effective. Very tasteful solo from Mick on that one. It's nice to hear a guitar solo. We haven't heard a lot of them on this album, which is really interesting. I mean, you think that one of the criteria might be a good solo, but a lot of these songs have not had one. Very interesting. In any case, though, this was really good. I liked it. It's definitely within the, parameters of the song. It set itself apart from the vocals and from the section, but without getting too crazy. It just really felt good going through the song.
Time so real as the one we share each day. It's the same direction, just a heartbeat away. In every part of you, there's so much exploration. And on the edge of space and time.
This is interesting. This is kind of halfway between just playing the root notes on bass and really kind of being the typical Uriah Heep bass player, because he's playing very aggressively, but he's staying within those notes. So it's like he's playing very hard. He's pushing it forward, but he's not like all over the place doing it like a lot of the songs that we hear on bass in this band. And when I say all over the place, I don't mean that as a bad thing. I'm talking about just that wandering playing where they're not sticking to the fourth string or the third and fourth string or a small range of low end notes to just be the bass guitar. I mean, bass has always been a very adventurous instrument in this band. And so he's kind of like somewhere in between, because I think he's playing about an octave higher than a normal bass player would. And he's playing really hard. Like those notes are really cutting through, which I like. And it's like, it's more than the usual, but not what we hear a lot of Uriah Heep bass players playing, where they're more like, first and second string sometimes. But Trevor's always been like in the middle of that. Sometimes he's more aggressive, sometimes he's more foundation. And I never know where he's going to land on a song. So this is really cool. It's a great performance and a great choice for this one. So now we get the blistering solo from Mick. Yeah, this was a really cool song. And I remember feeling this way about it the first time I reviewed it. It was a song I wasn't familiar with. So I'm still not extremely familiar with it, but it has a really good feel to it. Like this is just such a great jam. And I feel like on stage, you could really play this out for a while if you wanted to. I mean, here we're getting another fade, but I feel like on stage, like if you wanted to turn this into the song's like 5.5 minutes-ish. If you wanted to turn this into a 6.5, 7 minute jam, I feel like this song lends you the ability to do that. It's got great energy. The ending part could just go on for quite a while. I always think back to the song Changin' Times by Nazareth from the Hair of the Dog album, which I absolutely love that album. Reviewed it on my show, and I'm kind of sad about that because I love it so much. I would love to review it again, but I'm not going to. But it's kind of the same thing. Like the song has a certain structure to it, but when you get to the end, it just takes off and it's just a great jam, and you could play it and play it and play it for a long time. And I feel like this, I could have followed this song for, another, I would say 45 seconds to a minute and been perfectly happy. Anything beyond that, like it just depends on how it was performed. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in this song. I could see why they put this on their list of songs to re-record. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. So that's it for today, guys. Our Thursday show is done. We'll be back tomorrow for one more show before the week is out. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!